Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's edition of Applied Neolife. We sometimes call it Team Training Tuesday. And last week I was away. We had another event for health professionals. So thank you for allowing me to attend it. And today, I thought because we have had so many new people come to the family that we should go back to the basics, but it's astounding how much I learn each time I go through these fundamentals. So I hope this will be beneficial, particularly if you need to explain why Neolife to your clients and to your family and friends. My name is Esa Zanambasi. I am a passionate Neolife distributor. I am also trained as a medical doctor, and that often confuses people because they wonder why a medical doctor would be doing this. But perhaps today's presentation will reveal a few truths that will get you to say you should share this with as many people as possible. I'm always fascinated by the genesis of disease, and I want us to connect some dots, okay? And I want us to do it together. I want you to open your minds up, use your imagination if necessary, if possible. And I want to start right here by saying it starts with the decision to change what you can, eliminate what you must, keep on learning, and share what you know. And that is the essence, of what we do in our family. So back to the beginning, I just want to talk about the revolutions that we've been through. About 12,000 years ago, the agricultural revolution started. Nobody knows exactly when, but yes, that's when the agricultural revolution began. And then more recently, the industrial revolution, maybe 400 years. And much more recently, the revolution that we are now partaking of by meeting globally on these gadgets, the digital revolution. It began in the latter part of the 20th century, and it is now on. So, what do we understand by a revolution? I'll take the second definition. It's a great upheaval, a complete change in outlook, social habits, or circumstances. That is the definition of a revolution. So I just want you to ask, can you recognize these revolutions? On a personal level, a long, long time ago, we used to arise with the sun, go hunting, and we'd go gathering. And in the process, we got a lot of exercise, and we did not get too much food, right? Maybe not all of us were there then, but just, as I say, use your imagination. And then later, the agricultural revolution set in. So we started growing crops and keeping livestock. We got some exercise, granted, and we were able to store our crops, particularly the grain, for the leaner times. And then later still, when the Industrial Revolution kicked in, we got even less exercise because we could buy the food. We could live in cities and purchase the food. And now with the digital revolution, I think it really came home when all these fast food delivery businesses sprang up, and you could buy things on your gadget and it would be delivered to your door very, very quickly. But that fast food happens to be highly processed, very low in nutrients because of the processes that it goes through, including freezing, microwaving, and obviously the grain, when it is used, is stripped of all the nutrients. And so what we are left with, we shall discuss. So my question is, we may be in a health revolution right now, where in the past, and I remember it because when we were at medical school, diseases that threatened the public health were largely infections. But now, they're no longer largely infections. They're primarily rooted in inactivity, the lifestyle we're leading. And I would have you know that our natural bodies are mismatched to our environments today. And our environments create a sedentary lifestyle. Compare the work we used to do out in the fields or beyond that, hunting and gathering, to today where we sit in a car and arrive and sit in an office, okay? And then when we think about the walking, in those years, the advantages were that they saved money, they saved the environment, they were health benefits, untold health benefits that we have now taken for granted. Weight management, prevention of chronic and dread diseases such as type 2 diabetes, hypertension, arthritis, dementia, cancer, depression. You can carry on with that list. So, as regards our modern lifestyle, I must say that the modern quick fix culture has resulted in a multitude of health challenges. And I think as you listen to me speak and as your imagination goes with you, I want you to think of the people you know and consider how we can approach our advising them differently, okay? Because studies show that people on, for example, blood pressure medications exercise less and don't eat as well as people that are not on chronic medications. Because there's a misconception that they don't need to worry about their health. After all, they're taking medication, yeah. So we need to rethink a few things. So in this family, and for the guests, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are in a family, that's what we like to call ourselves, and we are on a mission for a health revolution, okay? And our health revolution revolves around our diet, the amount of physical activity we do, how we manage stress, because a lot of stress is brought about by the jobs we have, which I've heard a lot of people complain, even today on radio. There was a talk show where they were complaining about the salary not matching what they believe they are supposed to be getting. Right now where I live, we are having quite a torrid time because people who are supposed to be gathering and processing all the refuse collection are on strike, and they've been that way for several days now. So refuse hasn't been collected. And all that stress impacts not only them who are complaining, but everybody else. We can't really function very well. And the result of that, because of all the stress, is we can't relax and rest as well as we should. So that's another aspect. We should be promoting rest and relaxation because of the value it has to stress management. And then appropriate supplementation for preventative maintenance of health and well-being. That's how in this family we envisage fulfilling our mission for healthier families. Now that is for the sake of the guests to understand. But now I want to talk about the whole vexing issue that has evolved with the revolutions of weight and stress management. So let us look at it from another perspective, shall we? That's just a gross picture. I don't like this picture, but look, we are faced with people who are carrying around more weight than they should, with the result that the internal organs take quite a lot of strain. Now, when we think about that, that could actually be where disease begins, the stress and strain on inner organs and the skeleton. In near life, we still promote and we say that for a healthy triangle of the wellness triangle, physical activity and weight management form the foundation, the base. And then we should be eating whole grains. That is something that we have not seen in a long, long time in ordinary day-to-day shopping. Whole grains, the whole, everything entirely as it is presented in nature, right? And then we should have sufficient fruits and vegetables so that we get the antioxidants from our diet. And then of course, protein shouldn't be overdone, but we should have enough. We just need a little bit. And then fats and sugar, yes, the right fat and the right sugar. All right. And unfortunately, that is the typical one where the predominant components of our diets are fats and sugars, which are highly processed. We have very little whole grain, if at all, and we hardly do any physical activity. Hence my wanting to tell the story of the revolutions so that we really put it into context. The result of that is that our health, which is supposed to be high when we are born and sustained at a high level throughout our years, we notice that we quickly slip from the energetic through to the tired and sick zones, losing out a lot of quality of life. We might have the quantity because for several years, 20 to 50 years, a lot of people are maintained on medications and they learn to compensate with their lifestyles so that they can live suboptimally, but they can live, okay? So a lot of people, when you tell them you must exercise or you must walk, that's what I'm talking about. Or please don't eat the wrong foods. So my question is this: what has led to this disaster? And the answer is, it is the refusal to distinguish between refined and rapidly absorbed carbohydrates, which increase insulin production rapidly and dramatically, okay? To distinguish that from good fat, complex carbohydrate, and protein that do not increase insulin production rapidly. So this is key to our understanding of what we are talking about. So now let's have a look at the story of fat in the diet. let's have a look at fat in the diet. You know, through conditioning, we have been made to believe that fat makes us fat. And this story, this paradigm started around about 1953 when a biochemist by the name of Ansel Keys wrote his hypothesis that fat caused high cholesterol levels, which could cause heart attacks. And that is exactly when the error began, because they did not specify what kind of fat, first of all. And then they switched people from the traditional diet to what happened in the Senate Select Committee in 1977. There was this Committee on Nutrition and Human Need, which based their dietary goals on that gentleman's recommendations. And that is how we started this story of high carbohydrate, low fat diets. And that has become entrenched. And unfortunately, with all due respect, those of us in Africa have really bought that story, and the commercial interests that accrue from that have resulted in a lot of challenges to our health. So I want to tell you another story. By the way, this evening is going to be full of a few stories. And this one is about William Banting. William Banting was an English undertaker and coffin maker. He was born in December 1796, so quite a while ago. Now, in 1862, off he went to consult Dr. William Harvey, another William, for hearing loss and weight gain. Yeah, so this undertaker, Mr. Banting, had lost his hearing and he had gained a lot of weight. So Dr. Harvey kindly told him what he had recently learned in Paris. Being a doctor, he had gone to a conference, I suppose. And that was treatment of diabetics with low carb, high fat diet. Amazing. So William Banting decided to try it out. And much to his amazement, that low carb, high fat diet, and it must be the right kind of fat, it must have been the right kind of fat. To his amazement, he lost weight and regained his hearing. And he must have been one delighted undertaker. So he wrote that book called Letter on Corpulence, Letter on Overweight, and I suppose eating the wrong food. And that is something that we need to keep revisiting, in my opinion, because this alone, the collection of visceral fat and the compromise it causes to our health is something that unless we really get to the root cause of it, and the root cause is actually quite simple, we will continue to be fascinated by a lot of medications. So the significance of central adiposity, it is an indicator of the metabolic syndrome, which described it as pre-diabetes, and that is associated with excess insulin, not too much insulin, but it is excess insulin. And then, of course, there's high blood pressure due to chronic inflammation from high insulin levels. And then there's dangerously high levels of fat. We call that dyslipidemia. And that can cause tissue damage, particularly to the liver. Now, would have you know that a lot of even children are being found to have fatty liver disease. We call it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, even in children. And we are pulling our hair out wondering what is causing this, but none of us is stopping to say, what are we eating? Okay, anyway, and then weight gain that can lead to joint damage, particularly again in children if they're carrying more weight than their skeletal structure is made to carry. They will damage their joints. Then mood disorders and a poor self-image. So I want us to use our imagination through this presentation, and as stories are told, I think we'll be better able to advise people. So this is what another doctor said at Stanford University, what central adiposity means. Clearly, insulin resistance. So the solution to this problem of insulin resistance is not reducing cholesterol. And that has become a very popular medication that many people are put on to lower their cholesterol. And out of that, a lot of other problems have come to be, which perhaps we'll discuss at another session, in another session. So the solution is to keep blood sugar stable. So we are going to go back into discussing what insulin resistance is, its genesis. Let us start anywhere in this cycle, but let's start here at about 12 o'clock. There is chronic carb consumption. Remember those fast foods I described and the processed foods? So those will cause blood sugar to go up. And when that happens, the pancreas that is in our upper parts of the abdomen, behind the stomach, it secretes more insulin. It's the organ that secretes the insulin. It just pumps out more because it is getting messages that, hey, there's too much sugar here, okay? Unfortunately, the cells are resistant to the insulin. And you might ask, what causes that resistance? Well, there are many, many factors, and I'm hoping that we shall see that we can make those changes. We can make those decisions, okay? And when the cells resist that insulin, the receptors on the cells are busy saying, no, thank you, we are not taking this insulin. So the pancreas pumps out more. The cells can't take it. Then the cells struggle to produce enough energy, because if there is no passage of nutrients into the cell, energy will not be produced. And so more insulin is required. Sometimes we have to give it to the person in an injection. And do you remember me saying that too much insulin causes inflammation? Well, that's what will be promoted, inflammation. When it is too much, inappropriately more than what is required. And that will increase carb cravings. So people will reach out for more carbs. And of course, those who gain from them are happy that their products are selling. And the cycle continues and continues, round and round and round. That is insulin resistance. I don't want to dwell on the bad news too much. Now let's talk about insulin itself. Of the 3 macronutrients, the big nutrients called carbohydrates, protein, and fats, carbohydrate is the only one that can be called non-essential for survival. It is essential for life, but if you were to choose of those 3, if you're given the choice to say, of those 3, pick 2. One would say, let us pick protein and the fats, because fat is the body's preferred fuel. Granted, it can create glucose to run the brain and everything. from the available resources. It has ways of doing that. Now, insulin is the hormone that transforms carbohydrates and glucose into fat. It also works both ways. It then stores fat by preventing it from being used. So too much insulin will create that problem. And too much insulin, as we've seen, is triggered by high amounts of particularly refined carbohydrates. On the other hand, complex carbohydrates have fiber, and fiber is a prebiotic, and that prebiotic feeds gut bacteria. We have said very often that we have this huge colony of bacteria that live in our gut that should be looked after. We have to avoid disturbing it with too many antibiotics and too many things that will disturb it, such as preservatives in processed foods, okay? So the very important role of those bacteria is to produce, listen to this, short chain fatty acids. Again, there is fat, which is a key nutrient so that the gut lining functions properly. So here's the conclusion that I drew. It is important to choose your carbs and your fats very carefully. It is so important to choose very, very carefully. So this is a picture of perhaps modern lifestyle. People will argue, but I'm eating a lot of carbs and fat. I'm getting my protein, okay? I'm getting some sugar. It is important to choose, okay? Very, very important. So how do we gain weight then? Carbohydrates cause blood sugar levels to rise. Insulin is secreted by the pancreas in response. Glucose not used immediately, rather, for energy is converted to glycogen and stored in the liver and the muscles. Once the glycogen stores are filled, excess glucose is converted by the liver and stored as fat. And if the places it can be stored in are exhausted, the liver will have no choice but to say, oh, well, I can't ship this off anywhere, let me just keep it in myself. And that creates a cascade of many, many, many problems. If carbohydrates cannot be removed quickly from the body by exercise, as an example, the liver converts them to fat for storage in tissues. And I've just mentioned increasingly the liver. So here are some signs of, let's move this down. Here are signs of insulin resistance that you should know, and you will recognize as complaints that you hear very, very often. Very, very often. So the reason for going back to basics is so that you know the backstory, so that when you're told all these things, tendency to be overweight, trouble losing weight, large appetite, craving for sweets, okay, feeling more tired after meals, you know, I see a lot of people after they've eaten, they literally cannot stay awake. That is a sign of insulin resistance. Frequent thirst, hormone problems leading to the polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, and even endometriosis. Okay? Females who are estrogen or testosterone dominance, and males who have a challenge with testosterone levels. All those are signs that there is insulin resistance. So if you've been wondering, what is this thing called insulin resistance? It is more common than we think, and let us look at ways to solve the problems. This sequence of events happens after a long time, and What we need to know is that fat around the middle can be very dangerous, and it can increase the seriousness of events like stroke and heart attack because of the fact that it is a very, very inflammatory collection. So now, the good news is about to begin. We all are made of trillions of cells. We all want them to be healthy. And the way we were created was that we should have whole grain oils, because the biochemistry of those whole grain oils keeps the cell membrane healthy. Unfortunately, we are not getting those oils, not in our regular diets. We don't get them anymore. So our cell membranes become clogged. They can't allow nutrients in, and they cannot allow waste matter out. And that cell cannot reproduce another cell accurately. And so the disease process starts there at a cellular level. Now, we have a solution, and to the guests, we are very happy to share this with you. TreeNN feeds the cells, and the first thing that most people notice is that, oh my gosh, I seem to be more energetic, and I seem to be deriving benefit from the food that I'm eating. There's improved nutrient utilization by a big margin. Initially, many people complain, and this is actually something that you should learn to caution people that yes, initially, when you first go on TreeNN, you might not feel the energy, you might feel the reverse of that. You might feel more tired, you might go to the loo much more, and that will stun you because you have been so used to perhaps being a little bit constipated, and that has become your normal. Suddenly, your gut begins to work, okay? And some people blame it on the TreeNN, but what I like to say to people is that, hey, our products are amazing in that the first thing they do when they first come to you is to clean house, okay? To do a spring clean, so that going forward, if you continue, which you should, the cells will then derive the maximum benefit after they've been first cleansed out, okay? So this is a product that I want us all to be very, very proud of. And I want to say that it is thanks to the Scientific Advisory Board that we have. We are a family with a board of scientists that research and develop everything that we have. It was founded by Dr. Arthur First, and he was actually a cancer researcher. He pioneered oral chemotherapy, and then he came across to Neolife, which had already been going since 1958. So he joined Neolife in the 70s. So now we have a collection of products that we're very proud of, and we can assure the guests that you will get energy, you will enhance your immunity, you will deal with inflammation. And remember, inflammation, as I'm going to show you now, is the foundation of most diseases, and it will aid in the recovery of all your cells. Yes, so let's go back to basics and really, really be clear in our minds that wherever we start with nutrition, this is the foundation. And the Banting lifestyle that I described in that story will lower inflammation, and it is the key to health and wellness. The key is to control bad inflammation that is triggered by high levels of insulin. Please take that away with you. If there's one message that you'll hear, it is that we need to control our insulin levels in response to the amount of carbohydrates and junk fats that we eat. So that is why about carbohydrates, we have other carb foods than those highly processed ones. You know, people don't stop to think that leafy vegetables or certain fruits and nuts and seeds are all classified as carbohydrates, and they are less damaging than the processed ones. So let's look at real food. Let's go back to real food. I'm so sure that we will all be amazed by the Banting lifestyle. So it can be for everyone. It's a simple decision to eliminate sugars and junk oils, as I've mentioned, and it has been used with great results in managing allergies, in helping athletes to perform better, in the management of people who are diagnosed with cancer, because we have mentioned in the past that cancers are fueled by too much sugar that results in further inflammation as a result of the amount of insulin that is required to manage that sugar. And then, of course, in diabetes and digestive conditions, and most importantly, hormone imbalances are well managed by the Banting lifestyle. Other things like menopause, obesity, and pregnancy, yes. So at this time, I want us to have a brief look at the value of fasting. And fasting is described as abstaining from food or certain foods. It is often done for religious reasons. And right now, our Muslim brothers and sisters have started the holy month of Ramadan. So it also has very important health benefits. Fasting is a good practice. I have adopted it, and you can make it a lifestyle too, because it should become part of the health revolution that we are on. And that is what we describe as intermittent fasting. Now, if you remember the story I told at the very beginning, where we used to arise, if you use your imagination, early in the morning, no food because there were no fridges, and then we would go hunting. We probably found the food after midday, and then we would have to eat it before sunset. Otherwise, the lights would go out, the light called the sun, okay? So that is the window in which we had to eat. And the result was that it is the most cost-effective way to bring down inflammation, to rebalance hormones, and to manage weight. And I am a living example. I speak from experience. So that is my take on intermittent fasting. I recommend it. We can have a discussion about it. But as regards inflammation, let us look at inflammation, what it can do to our bodies. It causes all sorts of damage, one of which is memory loss. The other that we are talking about is weight gain. So those are the two: stress and anything to do with the brain and the weight. Other things, joints, pain, and loss of mobility, that seems to be an issue with many people. And then this one, number 3, is what we describe as malignancies or abnormal growths, because of abnormal growth of healthy cells. So I just thought I would mention the top 7 blood tests for inflammation, and look at test number 1. It will tell you how inflamed you are when they do a fasting insulin level, okay? And these are the others that you can look at leisure, but that one is very important. The second one, actually, I should point out, HbA1c. The higher it is, the more likely there is inflammation. It's a measure of the amount of sugar coating, we call it glycosylation, of our red blood cells. So those are important to just know, so that next time you have clients or even yourselves, you can request for them specifically. Now, let's talk about another source of inflammation. And just to tell a little bit of my story, I was looking for cleaning products that would not bring more toxins to my home than I had been distressed by in the products that we were using day to day that were purchased from the shops. So I looked, I hunted, I genuinely had become very despondent. And that's because my journey through medical school taught me to look critically at the side effects of medications and to say, whoa, wait a minute. If all these side effects are attributed to this particular preparation, how in the world are we expected to be using them? So then I started reading the labels of cleaning products, and again, I was just as stunned, and I became very, very unhappy. But over the past several years, 50 to 60, maybe even more now, over 80,000 chemicals have been added to our day-to-day use. And those are found in many places. And now I just want to tell you this story. Do we have time to even think of what happens before we enjoy a good plate of rice? And rice in its own right is a very high carbohydrate meal, but it is tasty. We like it, and it can have its benefits. But this is a story I'm going to tell very quickly. Some years ago, about 15 years ago, no, not 15 years ago, about 9 years ago, I beg your pardon, I was seeing a patient who walked in with inability to walk. He was really in pain. And I asked him where he was working and what his job was. And he said that he works in the harbor and he deals with heavy cranes and things to lift rice bales that are imported off the ships and into storage. And then I thought to myself, okay, this is more than just his job. Perhaps there is some toxin in the background. So I asked him, do you get exposed to chemicals? And then he said to me, doctor, if you knew what was good for you, you would never eat rice again. So I thought, why? And he said, we spray so many things on that rice. There is a certain chemical that we must spray on the rice. Now, for many years, and I'm sure some of you still do it, I would just pour the rice into the pot, add boiling water, and cook it up, all right? But from that day, I started washing my rice. Now, these are bottles to show you some rice that I washed, and I've kept the bottles. It remains an emulsion to this day. They're still standing in my kitchen. There's this sediment at the bottom, but it remains an emulsion. And that has been a lesson that I learned. And I must say, since I started washing rice with one of the products that we have called light duty concentrate or cleaner, LDC, I've seen a big difference in my health as well, because one of the things that I had battled with was to manage my weight, okay? But since I stopped that particular toxin or reduced it within my power, I eliminated what I could and I changed what I had to change. My weight management has been steadily becoming under control, okay? So I just want to introduce the guests to what we have. We also have washing powder. And like the ones that are out there, which may have things like arsenic, which may have phthalates and other hormone disrupting chemicals. They literally disrupt the hormones. They are also classified as obesogens. That should give you a clue as to what they do, okay? We have this product that is very economical. It washes with machine or hand, and it will not do all that damage. Plus, it is 100% biodegradable. That is important, very, very important. So for more information, please ask the people who have invited you. But that's all I can say about toxins. We have that. And then we can look at the nutrition. I've talked about TNN. Omega-3 is very important. The Neolife difference is that our omega is complete. It is totally complete, unlike other omegas, which will give you just 2 molecules. Ours is complete, okay? And it brings down inflammation very efficiently. And then we need minerals. They're vital for the working of our cells. And so I just chose a few minerals to show you: magnesium, ocalmag, zinc, and then we have a combination product called multi-mineral. Important for the cells to have all that. And the difference with our minerals is that they're double amino acid chelated, which makes them highly absorbable. And thanks to the founder of the Scientific Advisory Board, such that a chelated product is up to 6 times more absorbed than one that is non-chelated. It is also less irritating to the stomach, and it rapidly disintegrates and goes to work where it's supposed to work. And that is an example of our mineral. But I want to also point out botanical balance. It promotes blood sugar balance. Now, I've spent the whole evening, literally, talking about the value of balancing our blood sugar. So botanical balance will help. And just to throw in a product, Cruciferous Plus, to enhance detox systems and promote healthy estrogen balance, okay? So, as a recap, I've just picked these 3 products: the laundry compound, the LDC, and the TNN. Everybody needs them. And for the guests, if you're wondering where to begin, turn to the person who has invited you, and they'll show you how you can get hold of these products, so that if you don't do anything else, at least you stop disrupting your hormones with your laundry compound, and you start washing your rice, ladies and gentlemen. It's a game changer. And then you can replace those grain oils that have been stripped out of your rice that you're eating, because TNN has wheat germ oil, rice bran oil, and some oil from soybean oil. So yes, I hope this has been stimulating to your thought processes. Thoughts have energy. Make sure your thoughts are positive and powerful. Connect those dots. We are a family on a mission to end the trend of chronic illness and financial stress. So turn to those who have invited you and ask more questions. All we need to do is to invite you onto the mission. Begin with the most important person, and that is you, okay? Just do those daily success habits, and to succeed and achieve your goals and dreams, please share. Don't keep it to yourself. It's not a secret. So this is a recap. Decide to change your buying habits. Save your health with consistent use. You will begin to see the benefits. And then save money. You will be able, for example, when you buy the washing powder, it will last you months and months and months and months. So the money you save, you can invest further into your own health and the health of your loved ones. And then make the money, guys. That is why we are rewarded. We are rewarded to make the world a healthier and happier place by ending that trend of disease and financial stress. So as a recap, as a final word of wisdom, Zig Ziglar said, if people like you, they'll listen to you. But if they trust you, they will do business with you. Yes, this is a business opportunity. And I hope that you will take it up for those of you looking at it for the first time. And for those of you who are already in the business, Well done, and thank you for being here. We shall hopefully see you soon. Thank you. If you would like to ask any questions, please feel free to.